Most sim racing videos about VR try to sell you the dream. Perfect immersion. Feeling like you're actually sitting in the car. But after years of sim racing in VR, I realized something. Every VR sim racer accepts compromises. And I make these compromises every single time when I put on a headset. And if you can't accept at least a few of these compromises, then VR will not work for you. I've been sim racing for years, different headsets, different PCs, different simulations. Even with the high-end hardware, compromises never really disappear. So here are 6 compromises I personally accept every time I race in VR. Let's go. If you like playing new racing games early, VR can be the most frustrating thing because VR support is almost always an afterthought. They can claim they create simulations for VR, but they will only optimize it once everything is ready in the sim. Yes, I'm talking about you, Assetto Corsa Evo, Project Motor Racing, AC Rally. Really? I want to play these games in VR. Maybe you could, but you need to do like 10 workarounds to get it somewhat working. For instance, on AC Evo, I'm looking at like 24 gigs of video RAM to run Assetto Corsa Evo. Massive amount of frame drops. Graphic settings don't make any sense. Tweaking them, changing them. Pretty much a disaster. If you like to play early access games and being ahead of everyone all the time, then VR will constantly frustrate you. VR is not just one program, it's a stack of software. Sometimes you run things like SteamVR, OpenXR, then also you have headset software, and then you have the simulations themselves, all connected to each other. And all of these layers of software, sometimes they disconnect or they have issues or some random stuff happens, you get frame drops, and it's really hard to pin down if it's because of SteamVR, is it because of OpenXR, is it simulation, and just add another layer of new NVIDIA drivers, Windows update. I mean, all of these things, like when you're a normal PC gamer on screen, you might not have these issues. In VR, you will have these issues. 90% of the time, everything just keeps working. But when something is broken, it's really hard to pin down what the issue actually is. So VR sim racing is also sometimes lots and lots of troubleshooting. Upside, however, in this day and age is that like fighting the software like 3 years ago was 10 times worse than it is now. And a lot of times with ChatGPT as an assistant, it can really filter out quickly what the issues you have might be. It's really analytical that way. So if you have any issues in VR sometimes, then ask ChatGPT. It can open up a whole set of solutions you can test out. VR rarely gives you everything you need out of the box. For instance, if I want to see my FPS, I need OpenXR Toolkit to see my frame time in MS. My Pimax software does not give me a tool to show me how much FPS I'm running or frame times I'm running or what my GPU load actually is to test out my perfect settings. If you want overlays, third-party tools in your VR environment, you need additional software to tweak it. OpenKnee is a great solution for this. I'm using this every time. I also have a video in the description that will explain how to get overlays in VR, how to stream in VR. It's a very underrated video, but it can explain a lot of stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes. And without all the telemetry tools or like third-party software, you can really feel naked with just the VR headset and the software itself. Instead of just installing a headset, you'll be building out like a complete like ecosystem of stuff you are installing while you're racing VR. So if you're not willing to do some extra work for your telemetry or third-party software tools, or you want to avoid them altogether, then VR is not for you. If you're liking this content this far, could you please hit that like button? That would really help me out. And check the links in the description. I always have some cool discount codes for the Pimax, and if you're using one of my codes to take the leap, and get into VR, I'm forever in your debt, sir. Now let's go to the most obvious thing here. People see YouTube clips of incredibly sharp VR, crystal clear visuals, but the level of quality will cost you some serious money. To get to the real wow effect that I'm currently experiencing, not gonna lie, I'm really happy how everything looks. I'm running this Crystal Super 8K OLED with a 5090. And yes, I get the wow effect. It is really good. I'm not gonna lie. But you're looking at serious money what these headsets cost. You're looking at a system with a 5090 and like the best money can buy basically. It ain't cheap. And even though I am running this massive system, I still need to cut some corners in graphics, compromise on frame rates, put shadows down, still. So still compromises I need to make. A lot less than I used to make, but they are there for sure. Then there are the small things you need to deal with every session. You're wearing a device on your face. It can get warm, you can't easily see your keyboard, you can't quickly check your phone, even navigation menus can be slower. And none of these things are real deal breakers, but they are small compromises you need to accept every time you put on a headset. What also can be a problem is the situational awareness. When I'm racing in VR, like I'm completely closed off the real world. Sometimes I have my kids coming in the room, or I have like activities, and that really give you a layer of distraction when you're racing in VR. It's like what's going on in the real world. So that can be more distracting, I think, if you hear stuff or you have your family walking around, than when you're doing the pure racing, it can be somewhat distracting. Now this one is interesting because VR can actually make you faster. You get 3D sense of space. You can judge corner depth, car placement, traffic gaps much more naturally. But there's also a trade. And when you're pushing to higher limits in sim racing, then the absolute precision starts to become super important. So missing a braking marker for like 30 centimeters or a certain turning moment needs to be at an exact point. In VR, you're always looking a little bit left to right. So if you're constantly relying on like very fixed braking markers on track, when you're driving in VR, your head is never ever like dead center in a straight line. So if you would have like a ultra wide or a triple screen and you position the car exactly the same, there's no variance there. So I think when you're reaching that very close limit, I think it can be somewhat of a downside to have to drive in VR. However, if somebody drives, removes the braking sign all of a sudden, then VR is actually really good because we have like 29 other clues that will point us towards when we need to brake and when we need to steer, because of the 3D world just gives you like 4 times more information on how your car is positioned. So VR isn't perfect. You accept software friction, hardware cost, comfort compromises, and sometimes a little bit of a technical frustration. But I consciously make these compromises every time because I have said this before, I wouldn't have this YouTube channel if it wasn't for VR. I get in the car, I can race, and I can actually pretend to a higher degree that I am a racing driver. For me, these trades are definitely worth it, but I wanted to make this video to show you that this is actually happening in the background, all the stuff that is going on. So if you want to figure out if this headset, the 8K OLED, is the best headset currently, then I highly recommend this video, because that will explain how this Crystal Super stacks up to the Crystal Light, to the OLED, to the Super Ultra Wide. All this, I mixed them together in one big video so you can understand how they stack up. Thanks for watching.